All right, so do you want to talk about this first step in creating your website? Probably even could call it your pre-planning to the website. And this really revolves around creating strong goals and creating an audience analysis so that you can better understand your audience and better drive traffic to your website and better complete conversions on your website. So, unfortunately, just wanting a good website or wanting to design a website is not a clear enough of an objective. And I think a lot of people just end up learning the hard way that just stating that you want a good website for your business does not correlate into business results. And so I think that's why this idea of pre-planning by creating goals and conducting an audience analysis is so important. So let's start talking about the goals and how to go about creating them. Understanding the challenge that is facing you is extremely important. You need to understand issues or problems or desires that you want to achieve. And these can be big. These can be a little lofty. That's okay to start large. You can begin to dissect those large goals into more appropriate objectives. And then when we get to the website, understanding that your website may not be able to accomplish all of your business goals or all of your goals that you're setting for your organization, but it can help with some. So understanding what you want your user to take away from the site, what do you want your users to accomplish on that site, what conversions do you want them to complete? And then, of course, if you're in this major or if you're even in this class, hopefully you understand the importance of communication and understanding what you want to communicate with the content that you present and how you present it will be important to creating these goals. And understand that these focal points will help you in creating a design that kind of magnifies them. So you create these goals and then you can build your website around those goals. This is a great, I guess, acronym to use or procedure to go through when creating goals. SMART goals. There are some critics, and for good reason. The major critique of SMART goals is that you don't allow for a lot of creativity or allow for creating lofty ideas. You're kind of bound by that achievable uh, the segment of SMART goals. Some people tend to limit themselves when creating goals. And then I think some of the more successful businesses, especially if you look at things like Apple, don't like SMART goals because it limits their ability to dream big. But for a lot of people, in a lot of instances, SMART goals are great. So SMART, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Um, Specific, we need specifics in that goal. Think of it almost as creating an objective, what needs to be completed, and try to uh, be as specific as possible. This especially helps for the next step, which is measurable. The more specific you are, the easier it becomes to create a measurable goal. It's not enough just to say that you want to inform people about conventional versus organic agriculture. You need to be a little bit more, um, you need to think more in terms of metrics. So what is a number that I can measure this by? So then it becomes, I want to inform, 100 people within 100 people about conventional versus organic agriculture. And achievable, so thinking about, is this something that you can complete with the other constraint set that you're going to put on this goal? Relevant, being sure that this is meeting your overall goals. If this is relevant to you, kind of ensures that this is worth your time. And then time bound, I think, is also important. This creates kind of that immediate need, that push to get something done. you don't put a time limit on something, it's easy for it to drag on. So let's move on to taking a look at some examples. So I want clients for Stampede Productions. It's not specific. It could be a lot better in that area. It's definitely not measurable. We've created no metrics to help us measure the completion of this goal. It's achievable. Yeah, we can get clients for Stampede Productions. It's relevant to us for the example that I'm creating, but it's also not time bound. So how can we fix this? Well, let's take a look. I want 3 clients for Stampede Productions every 3 months with a total income of $900 or more. It is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So it's specific because we talk about those clients, we talk about money, we talk about time, a time limit. So we kind of pretty much check off all of those boxes. So please refer back to this checklist every time that you create a new goal. So now that you kind of have some overall business goals, you need to decide what actions your visitors should take on your website. And it helps to think of what will the website prompt my visitors to do so that I can achieve my goals. So as an example, if you're putting together an e-commerce business objective, or their objective is to increase revenue, they obviously are going to have to do that by selling things online. Therefore, the action that you want people to do, you want more people to buy the product, and you want people to buy more things per order. And so this idea of upselling. So those are things that you can do with your website. You can get people, you can make your product look great on the website. You can make it easy for them to purchase something on the website. Whenever they click something and add something to the cart, you can upsell. You can create another message that pops up and says, hey, here are some other great products that people like to purchase the item that you just put into your shopping cart. So those things have become pretty easy, and I think are pretty apparent when we're talking about e-commerce business. What about a nonprofit? So nonprofits are kind of a different beast. You're looking for donations, not necessarily business. People aren't putting something in their shopping cart and checking out. They're donating their money or their time. And so their business objectives are probably going to be less money focused and more cause based, but obviously they need the money to function. So, maybe a nonprofit will want their website visitors to make a donation via an online form, volunteer to help out at an event, and share their cause with friends and family. So we're probably looking at actions as being a prompt to make a donation, or we're looking at a newsletter prompt. So sign up for this newsletter so we can keep you updated on volunteer events, and so you can send out that newsletter via email, or simply just having the ability for them to share an article on Facebook or on Twitter, or signing up friends and family for the newsletter. So those are the actions that you can accomplish with the website that need to be a part of your goals. So now we're talking more about this idea of objectives almost. So we have this kind of large overarching goal, which we had talked about earlier on, and we did the first SMART check on. Now we're getting more specific. So the things that we can accomplish, you can almost think of them as objectives if it helps. So I want 10 people to request a quote for their product through the website every 2 months. Specific, measurable, it's definitely achievable, it's relevant, and time bound. I mean, achievable, I think this might be pushing it a little bit. You can kind of play around with the numbers to see what you think is achievable, but do leave some room for it to be a little lofty. I mean, if it's something you want to push yourself, then you can definitely do that. The next objective, I want 20 people to sign up for an email newsletter every 2 months. I want to get 2 clients from the newsletter every 6 months. So those definitely check off all the lists. So the next segment of this lecture is going to be the audience analysis. Your client should have demographic information such as income, gender, age. These are basic things, kind of the basic demographic questions. But we also need to know what the consumer habits are. And so we need to know what goods or services are they buying, what websites do they visit, what forms of media do they indulge in, because we need to know how we can reach our customers or the people that are visiting our websites. We want things to be easy for them to navigate, and so we have to know how they operate. And so before setting or settling on a website design, or even before you embark on this, you should first consider the needs and the interest of your target audience. You have to think about what they enjoy, what they currently operate and navigate, and create a design that can attract those users and those visitors. Um, and this website can definitely influence things like their buying habits or buying decisions or their traffic, or your web traffic. And so you really need to keep things audience focused and goal focused. So here's an acronym that I use when developing an audience analysis. And you can go through each of these and answer those questions, and kind of create subheadings. So first subheading would be the analyzing the audience. So who is the audience? Next one is understanding the audience. What is the audience knowledge of the subject? And I think that one is one that I think people might get a little hung up on, but it's important to know what their understanding of the issue is so that you know how in depth you need to go. So as a great example, let's say that you are working for a breed association, and all of your members are breed producers or are producers of that certain breed. They're obviously going to know a lot. They're going to have a deep understanding about the breed. Now, on the other end of that, if you're doing some external communications as that breed organization and you're talking to a lay audience, they're not going to have a deep understanding. And so the way that you present that information is going to be vastly different. I think another one is the idea of this environment. And I want you to think about this as being, how is this information being accessed? How will my website most likely be accessed? And so this is where things like responsive web design becomes very important, because if you're working with a younger audience, probably the large amount of visitor or traffic will come from mobile phones, and so you need to design your website to look good on a mobile phone as well as a tablet and a desktop, just knowing that a lot of that traffic is going to come from that mobile phone. One of the ways that I think is a great example are things like hotels.com or hotwire.com, Expedia. They utilize the information that they get to alter the prices that they present you with. So if somebody is logging on to their website or accessing their website from a low socioeconomic level and they're accessing it uh, on their phone, they'll present lower prices to those visitors. And then if you immediately go home or go to a higher socioeconomic area and access it on a desktop, you'll be presented with a higher rate or higher price for the exact hotel room or flight. And so they are definitely taking into account the environment of those audiences and adjusting their website for those audiences. I think everything else is some things that you can navigate on your own, but of course you can always come to me for help. So I do want to take a look real quick at an example of what those goals might look like. So I'm just going to pull up an example of goals that I created. I will be putting this on WT class. So there we go. Here are just the goals, kind of create this primary goal, so a very broad and almost like umbrella idea, something that encompasses everything. But then I begin talking about how can this website help in accomplishing a portion of those goals, and then create some very specific goals and objectives. So all that will be on WT class. And as I said, if you have any questions, you can always reach out for me for help.